My name's Kim Miller. I'm a retired school audiologist, not a doctor and not a toxicologist, but I completed a class last spring on microplastics and health, and I thought the information was important. So I want to relay to you what I learned. This field of study is changing so rapidly that we were getting updates during the 7-week course. So some of this information is pretty new, but also it's making the mainstream media. So we're finding that a lot of people know a lot more about microplastics than we thought they knew when we started working with folks about SUPs. Many times the term microplastics is used to mean both microplastics or nanoplastics. I may use these terms interchangeably. This slide gives some perspective of the difference between macroplastics, microplastics, and nanoplastics. One of the reasons plastic is so useful is its durability. Unfortunately, this works against us. Scientists believe that all the plastics ever made, except for those that have been incinerated, are still around. Unfortunately, plastics just break up into smaller and smaller pieces over time, going from usable form to macroplastics, then microplastics, then nanoplastics. Commonly consumed items contain microplastics. What stands out in this study is that bottled water had about 23 times more microplastics than tap water or any of the other items studied. Microplastics and nanoplastics, MNPs, are small enough to enter animals, humans, and plants. Some plastic particles enter our bodies through the air we breathe and the food and water we eat. Nanoplastics are small enough to enter through our skin. These particles are so small, they evaporate off the ocean and rise up into clouds, or they get caught and carried by the wind. They get dropped literally everywhere on the planet. They are found on the highest mountaintops and in the deepest parts of the ocean. Where have plastics been found in the body? Just about everywhere researchers have looked. Most of us have heard that plastic is found in our brains, but it is also found in every major organ of the body, as well as many other areas, including the placenta and the testes. There are more than 16,000 chemical additives in plastic that we know of, and only a third have been studied for health effects. Researchers have identified 16,325 chemicals in plastics, and the list continues to grow. Of those chemicals, 26% are known to be hazardous, and 66% have no data as to whether they are dangerous or not. Some chemicals in plastics are added on purpose, but some are non-intentionally added substances, or NIAS. They come from chemical reactions in the production process, or from impurities in the chemicals or plastic stock. So the plastic manufacturers cannot give you a complete list of all the chemicals in the plastic they make. Some are unknown. But we do know that of the known chemicals, 26% are hazardous. That means there's probably a good chance a significant number of the 66% of the chemicals that have not been studied are hazardous as well. The endocrine system is a network of glands that release about 50 hormones. These hormones orchestrate nearly every function in the body. Some endocrine functions include metabolism, growth and development, sexual function, reproduction, sleep-wake cycles, and mood. Tiny amounts of chemicals called endocrine disruptors, when introduced at the right time, can have very big effects. They are especially harmful during fetal development, childhood, and adolescence. Research is mounting in this area that is alarming. Some endocrine disruption that happens at critical periods during pregnancy can be transgenerational, affecting the fetus and generations to come. I'm going to talk about two known endocrine disruptors in plastics. Bisphenol A is a common chemical added to plastic to make it hard. Sometimes things labeled BPA-free have BPS or BPF in them. All of these BPs are known endocrine disruptors. BPA is found in hard plastic refillable bottles, the liners in aluminum drink cans, and steel food cans. It is on some thermal receipts we get when we buy something at a store, and they can be in dental sealants. BPA is considered an everywhere chemical because of its broad use. It's estimated that 93% of people in the US have BPA in their urine. It has been found in breast milk and baby formula, which is very concerning for the development of babies, including their brains. Phthalates are also endocrine disruptors. They're commonly used to increase plastics flexibility, transparency, and durability. Phthalates are commonly found in soft food packaging and pharmaceuticals, cosmetics, baby skin and baby hair products, soap, shampoo, hairspray, and nail polish. Babies have increased exposure to phthalates because of the high concentration of the chemical compared to the baby's size. The chemical can enter the body through a baby's skin, but also by mouth, since babies like to put their mouths on everything. Some of the health effects from BPA and phthalates are the same. The things in the middle of this slide are effects of both BPA and phthalates. The things on the left are related to BPA, and those on the right are related to phthalates. I bet you're wondering, why isn't the FDA keeping us safe? If our exposure to these endocrine disrupting chemicals occurs so frequently from everyday items, why isn't the FDA banning them? In short, the FDA has not adopted guidelines that were recommended back in the 1980s. Back then, it was recommended by a select committee of experts that the FDA become more effective at regulating chemical safety. One of the main recommendations was the need to pay attention to the special effects of chemicals on behavioral changes and the endocrine system, and not to assume that chemicals below a certain concentration are not hazardous just because they don't cause cancer. Another problem is that the FDA does not do testing. Let me repeat. Another problem is that the FDA does not do testing. It relies on industry to do their own research to determine the safety of products. Industry research is obviously biased and is essentially voluntary. Compounds called food additives must be reviewed and approved by the FDA before they are used in foods, but ingredients considered GRAS, G-R-A-S, are exempt from these regulations. GRAS, or generally accepted as safe, is a loophole, a legal loophole. The FDA allows the food industry to determine which substances fall into the category of GRAS, meaning that many chemicals get added without the FDA knowing it. Thousands of new chemicals have been added to food that have not been tested and have not been regulated because of lax rules. It would be nearly impossible now to test all of the chemicals that are in our food and food packaging. So here are a few tips about how to avoid endocrine disrupting chemicals in food packaging. Don't heat food in plastic or covered with a plastic lid or plastic wrap, even if it's labeled microwave safe, or at least heat food at a lower temperature in the microwave in short bursts. Avoid long-term storage in paper and cardboard, especially recycled paper. Avoid storing acid or alcohol-containing foods in plastic, or at least use them up quickly. Don't store fats in plastic. Plastic likes to dissolve in fat. Cook from scratch. The more a food is processed, the more chemical exposure it has from machines with plastic parts. And a few other precautions. Hand wash plastic dishware. Don't put it in the dishwasher. Avoid plastics that are breaking down, that are scratched, melted, or stained. Don't reuse single-use plastic. These cheap plastics degrade quickly when heated or washed or exposed to sunlight. Consider drinking only from glass or steel containers. Avoid number 3 and 7 plastic bottles because they may have PFAS, another endocrine disruptor. Don't eat popcorn that is sold in a microwavable bag. It may contain PFAS. Use a HEPA filter on your vacuum and dust with a damp cloth. Avoid buying new synthetic clothing and wear out the ones you have. I guess I've diverged from the food thing, but these are important ways to avoid microplastics as well. And don't use coated pans, especially ones that have become heavily scratched. Here are a couple of resources if you're interested in reading about FDA non-regulation of food additives. And then I discovered YouTube videos by a toxicologist named Yvonne Burkhart that are really great. They're science-based, and she presents realistic ways to reduce microplastic exposure. She's not an alarmist, so I think her videos are really, really good. So that was pretty heavy. This is the last thing I'll leave you with, and then I'll get Maureen back in here.
No, sit there. Great.